Are you not entertained, women's hockey fans? If you thought we were going to get a sweep, you have another think coming. Ottawa says no. They get a win in game 3. Backs still on the wall, against the wall, I should say. But let's hear what Carla McLeod has to say about her team and if there was ever any doubt that they could get it done in another tight game.
Well, I think this has just been our MO all year. We've been a resilient team through so many different games, so many different moments. So truly there was a comfortability in where we sat and what we were up against, and it was about getting one in a row. And the reality is we have to go get another one in a row. So I think for us, we walked in with a lot of confidence, a lot of belief, and obviously thought our game was quite strong. And obviously we just keep going. We just don't stop. We never have. We never will. It's not who we are. So we're really thrilled for the group that we were able to find a way in this one.
I mean, I don't know that there's really much else to say, Rachel. That's pretty much what we've been talking about when it comes to Ottawa. It makes for exciting hockey. Sometimes it's heartbreaking. Sometimes it's frustrating. And then it's also just amazing. And we got the latter in game 3.
Yeah, it is interesting because, in the previous games, Ottawa gets on the board first, right? Mm-hmm. And Montreal comes out with the wins in the end. And this time around, Montreal gets on the board first. And Ottawa fights their way back into it in that third period, right? I mean, going into that third period scoreless, it was just purely the way the game had been going. Anything could happen. There was just no way to predict. And then, when Hayley Skamura gets on the board, I was like, well, that could be it, right? Because how tightly the game was played, how good the goaltending was in the game continued to be really good. You knew Ottawa wasn't going to give up, that's for sure. But I do think that, again, just given how closely the game was fought, like, one goal could have done it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just, again, exciting, nail-biting kind of hockey. And I guess we should probably introduce ourselves. I just got so excited to talk about the PWHL final. But my name is Erica L Ayala, and I'm here alongside Rachel Donner. You are listening to At Even Strength. This is our women's hockey podcast at Black Rosie Media. We are an all-access pass to women's hockey from the ice of the PWHL, NCAA, international tournaments, and the grassroots movements. We cover every level of the game with insight, analysis, and conversations that matter. At Even Strength, we aim to bring you smart, honest, and passionate coverage that we know not only does women's hockey deserve, but that is already baked in. I mean, the drama, right? As you mentioned, this was a game that was that was tied at zeros going into the third period. Hayley Skamura, someone, once again, Rachel, I got to give you your flowers. You called Skamura. That's why I love doing those previews the way that we do them. It's like, all right, who is a key player? Who's an impact player? To me, those are two different things. Key player is, death taxes MPP, right?
Right.
It's key is we know we're getting good goaltending. And then an impact player, someone that can, maybe perhaps come out of nowhere, but not really, because if you know, and that's definitely Hayley Skamura here. But as you mentioned, it wasn't quite enough. And we get 2 goals from Ottawa here, including from a hometown darling. And we're going to hear from Carla McLeod again. But Peyton Hemp actually got on the board first to set up the game-winning goal by Rebecca Leslie. And, Rebecca Leslie is someone that we've talked about in the last handful of episodes, Rachel, because it just seems like she's finding ways to get things done in the postseason for the Ottawa Charge.
Yeah, she's just one of these players that has always been very, very good, right? But hasn't really been in the spotlight per se. And I feel like this season has been her debut in a lot of ways in terms of being at the forefront of the conversation here, because again, she's just been clutch. Like, I know you say Marie-Philippe Poulin is captain clutch, but Like, you're allowed to use that word for other people. And I think Rebecca Leslie is one of those people. And her game just shows up in all aspects. It's like in all places on the ice. And then she tops it off with the scoring.
Yeah, it's really truly phenomenal, but also it's very special to get this win, to play for this team for Rebecca Leslie, who is Ottawa is her hometown. She said after the game, I'm honestly at a loss for words. It's such an honor to play for my hometown, to see a record-breaking crowd tonight. And growing up in Ottawa, I've always known that it's a hockey community. But to see the crowd come out every game, whether it was TD Place or CTC, it's just so special. Nothing kind of compares to how I felt in that moment. It was truly such an honor. And then her teammate, we talked about Hemp also just saying it's definitely surreal. I remember when the game first started, seeing all the flashlights and the arena completely filled. It's really a dream come true. So special to be a part of this. I think we have the best fans in the league, and they're just bringing so much energy. And for Rebecca to get that goal, it was huge, and it definitely brought the energy to another level. And this is something that we also talked about when previewing this particular series and the move to Ottawa. We know, just like is quoted here, I mean, yes, there's some of the, man, it felt great, the crowd is great, and again, we've talked about in a good way, a bad way, and just kind of indifferently that's the MO, like that's the term that we heard Carla McLeod use, but that's the MO of the PWHL, right? They're really pumping up that these are record crowds, and that's phenomenal in and of its own right. And to feel that electricity while playing on the ice in a close game in your hometown when you score the game-winning goal, what?
I know. It is incredible. I will say, speaking to the impact of the crowd in Ottawa in particular, I think, we've talked about it, as you said. Just a little anecdote. I had to step away from my TV for a hot second while I was watching the game. And so I was in the other room, right? And I hear the loudest cheer coming from the TV, like as I'm in the other room. I think a goal has been scored, right? Given how loud it is. I come in there. No, it was just like another great Gwyneth Phillips save. Like, it was just, that crowd comes through your television in a way that it is really special to see. And I would say, like, on the Montreal side of obviously there was a lot of Montreal fans there. You could see, in the crowd, again, with them having a chance to clinch it and the two cities being pretty close, you expect some travel back and forth. And we saw Ottawa fans in the crowd in Montreal as well. It's tough on the Montreal side of things just because there's divided attention with the Canadiens in the playoffs, and they had an exciting Game 7 at the same night. So really tough in terms of that aspect of it. But I don't want to discount the Montreal fan base either, because they are very strong and very passionate. And I think they also have a ton of fans from outside Montreal. Like, I know a lot of Americans in particular that have adopted Montreal as their team, like that don't have teams yet. So just giving the Montreal Victoire fans their
100%.
their flowers too.
And again, this is another tight game. This is a 2-1 score, 3 goals overall. We took it down to the wire. And I want to go back to Skamura and Corey Chevery, who is the head coach here. But Haley Skamura, again, is such a phenomenal storyline in and of her own right. And of this game, we heard her say, scoring a big playoff goal like that against a former team, it was a little extra special. And in this arena, honestly, we had a lot of Montreal fans, just like you said, Rachel. I felt like we had a lot of cheers after that goal, so they traveled well, and that means a lot. Obviously, I wish we came out with a win, and that part is frustrating. And I think it's also got to be frustrating because, again, these games are so close, Rachel. The PWHL sent out some stats that I thought were really interesting and some fodder for the storylines here. Previously, just 2 of 11 PWHL finals all time remained scoreless through 2 periods of regulation. That was Game 4 between Boston and Minnesota in 2024 and Game 2 between Minnesota and in Ottawa in 2025. The latest first goal, as in the entire game that we've ever seen in PWHL history, came in 2024 when Boston scored the only goal of the game at 18:36 in a double overtime period. Like this is the kind of PWHL action that we're getting. There are more games that end in dramatic fashion in the postseason than there are regulation wins for anyone, which is wild. I mean, I don't even know, like your nerves are shot, but in like the best way after watching these games. The shots were similar once again. 28, I believe, for both sides here when it came to shots. No power plays once again, Rachel. And on the series, if we look at the power play, 3 of 16 for the Victoire, 18.75% clip, 2 of 17 for an 11.76 clip for the Ottawa Charge. So I do wonder if, again, with great goaltending, super tight games, is this going to be a championship that, if it comes in game 4 or even game 5, that is decided by the one thing that we are not seeing a lot of, which is special teams or success, I should say, specifically on the power play?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting theory. I think that, it would not shock me if the game-winning goal for the Walter Cup was on the power play, just because you're right. We haven't seen it, so why not throw that into the mix, given that
for the drama
that there hasn't been a power play goal scored in the series. I absolutely could happen. I think that, both teams are playing very tight defensively. It'll make it really difficult to get there. I do have to acknowledge the officiating conversation out there, and that maybe there aren't enough power plays happening, or the wrong power plays happening here, that are certainly putting the thumb on the scale there. There was quite a bit of traffic in Anne-Renee Desbien's crease there that maybe should have been addressed, I would say. But it wasn't just that. There was definitely some other missed calls. And to have to sit there for that long on the game-winning goal review, in and of itself, just to see if a puck brushed a hand. I mean, that was also, I think, ridiculous. Like, that should have been much easier to resolve because it was very clear.
Well, and we've talked about this before. Like, it just burns my dang grits. Listen, I literally just went on wax poetic how I love drama. But you like drama
not
that is
drama.
not that kind of drama. You like the drama when it's like gladiators, warriors going to battle because they are the best at what they do, and it's just like, who's gonna blink first, who's gonna falter, who's gonna force the issue. That's what we want. We don't want to be sitting waiting around. Now, if it was a call that required that, sure, but I go back to one of the first ever Seattle Torrent games. We had a review for something that was very clearly a goal. And we've talked about this and some of the ways that the PWHL has kind of quietly changed, whether it's coaches' challenges that don't exist anymore or that they are going to the video review room. And, why? But I think it goes back to something that we said before. I wonder if the theatrics from a broadcast distribution, getting in extra TV timeout, I don't know. Is this really something that we think about in pro sports today? Because it just feels too extra to be anything that's actually going to improve something that we're talking about in the WNBA, which is freedom of movement, but also the pace of a game. Like, Major League Baseball is having to now implement certain things to get the game to move faster, and yet here we are in women's hockey being like, let's just take forever
Let's just take
to review
10 minutes to figure this out.
I
know.
Gosh.
I know. Yeah, it was very frustrating. Again, with less than a minute to go in the game and everything on the line here. It was just, it was awkward in a lot of ways and kind of ruined, I think, the pacing of that end of the game like that. But that's how
we
we
don't.
roll right now.
I guess that's how we roll. Corey Chevry had this to say just about the game and the desperation. I think both teams are desperate to find a way to come out with a win. The game is never going to be won or lost in the first period. So that goes back to something that you were saying, Rachel. And I think that that's something that everybody needs to realize as well. It's a long game. It's a chess match. It's establishing your game plan and trying to establish it before the other team. And we need every single second on the clock if the series through 3 games is indicative of that. But I also want to go back to Rebecca Leslie. Carla McLeod has talked about her before. We broke this down even after the loss. I believe it was the game 1 loss where we talked about Leslie before. But here's what McLeod had to say after the win. As soon as it plays.
Well, it's the privilege of my role and our role as coaches that you get the chance to watch athletes, sort of go through a metamorphosis of their growth and to see her be rewarded again. We've talked a lot about the investment she made in the off season. Her impact in the game has been felt from game 1 through obviously tonight. So, we get a front row seat as coaches to watch these athletes grow and mature and find their confidence. Often in our industry, their confidence just has to catch up to their talent level. And when that comes to be, that's when we start to see moments like we're seeing from Les this season. So it's certainly been a privilege to sit in the spot that I sit in and know that she's not done. She just continues to invest in her own growth, and she's only going to get better.
I mean, I just really like how Carla McLeod approaches talking about her team, keeping it level-headed, and she really doesn't give much gasoline to media. She's like, "Oh, we lost game 1. Come on, it's a series. Let's go." Not ideal. Down 2. We always believed in ourselves. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. But does it matter?
She's just always been that forthright. When her team plays badly, she will say so. And I think she's spot on. They're playing their game at the best that they can. And sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. And, she's like, we'll little things that we have to, that we notice, but for the most part we're playing hockey the right way to beat this team, and one game at a time, which is the most cliche thing in the world, but that's all she can do at this point, right?
I mean, right. It's like not too high, not too low. And I mean, there's perspective there. And I mean, we've talked about there are definitely things off of the ice happening with McLeod and of course the team, right? And just for her to have that perspective, she's talked about coming back specifically for the playoffs. She was not with the team for the last handful of regular season games as Haley Wynn took over as bench boss while she was taking care of cancer treatments, So maybe I don't want to assume that that's all of it, because I do think she's had that forthrightness and the level-headedness always. I would imagine, though, this is me projecting how I would be if I were Carla McLeod. Ain't nobody got time, ain't nobody got time for all this woulda, coulda, shoulda. All right, am I eliminated? No? Okay, no, I'll see you next game.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she thinks it just like that, right? Just like that. I just harnessed her essence on the podcast, but it's another wild series here, Rachel. And let's get your final thoughts, and then also who wins game 4? Are we going to game 5? I mean, I know it's tough, but do you have any inkling?
There's no other way but to go to game 5 at this point, especially, game 4 back home in Ottawa. There's just so much riding on it emotionally that, it'll be close, and, it'll end up being, one mistake or something like that, because that's what happens in these games. But I do think that Ottawa certainly has the momentum now, but Montreal plays hard. So truly, I think either team could win the series at this point.
Yeah, truly. I do not have a strong take. I think it really just goes back to, I think I kind of maybe gave away my take, is that at this point, let me look at what is the outlier here. And it's special teams, specifically the power play. You already talked, Rachel, about how
Yeah.
officiating and how the game is being called, how that's impacting it. I tell you this, I think the collective we will riot if we feel like we are robbed, especially in a game 5, and don't even let it go to overtime, and then something gets fudged up with officiating. Don't, like,
That's
come
literally
on, people.
the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario.
We are not doing 2019 World Championships in Finland. That is not happening.
No.
We are not going
no.
there. Emotionally, I cannot. I will not. I refuse. So whatever you need to do, fans, put out the good juju, write a petition letter. I don't know. But it's got to, do not let this happen. The Zebras cannot take over this series. It is too good of a hockey showcase that we have been seeing. And not just in these, with these two teams, truly in the postseason, even leading up to the postseason, we didn't know who was going to win the gold plan, who was going to be a part of even trying to get the number 1 pick, who was going to be in the play, who was going to be number. We didn't know because we're getting good hockey. And that's what we really want. So sorry to you folks that really want us to give you predictions. I think we do a disservice to these two teams. And honestly, the analysis is that things are really tight. We're not seeing a team get wildly outshot. We're not seeing a team get massive opportunities on the power play. That's just not happening. These are two teams where it's like, you know, that gif of Spider-Man, they're pointing at each other, and what's gonna give? We don't know. How exciting. How lucky are we? Amazing. We're going to go over the schedule again, but it's on your screen if you're watching. And date game 5, we do have a date, we do have a time. We'll go over that again, Rachel. But what we've also been talking about, even though we are getting fantastic hockey, we also are getting all of these announcements, Rachel, just layered over what is phenomenal hockey. And so here we go. I get to roll that beautiful bean footage again because PWHL San Jose is officially official. And here is the hype video for the announcement.
Time is now, now whenever I can't look back. It's mine forever, the record is stacked. It's like the Letterman team on my back. The time is now, now whenever I'm making it count. Counting the times they counting me out. Straight out the mud, I'm making it out. I gotta get it, the time is now. The time is now, now whenever I can't look back. It's mine forever, the record is stacked. It's like the Letterman team on my back. The time is now, now whenever I'm making it count. Times they counting me out. Straight out the mud, I'm making it out. I gotta get it, the time is now. I gotta get it, the time is now.
I mean, there we go. Another hype video, another expansion team. Worst kept secret in the PWHL, probably, but San Jose, official.
Yeah, do you know the way to San Jose?
La, 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 la.
Yeah, listen, here's the thing. I think that it's not like a bad market to expand to. I think there's a lot of good things about it. Getting into California is really important for the league. And again, when you're in a city that doesn't have other competing major sports teams in that city. I know Bay Area, you know, there's a lot, but in that building is just the Sharks, right? In SAP Center. There's not a third major team to compete with for time slots there. So that's good. They're going to have the Sharks Ice training center, which is good, right? So they'll have kind of parallel facilities to what the Sharks have, which is good. And, you know, the Sharks are partnering with the league on it. So all of that is very, very good. And, you know, it's close enough geographically to Vegas, you know, ish, that it in terms of that aspect of it. You know, you have your two Pacific Northwest, then you have your two, like, you know, Pacific time zone, further south teams. You know, I don't know that San Jose in the bigger picture was a market that people were clamoring for in particular. And you could even look at those like overlay of the social media posts. Some of them say SoCal on them, like, and don't, some of them do say Bay Area or California in general, but there's at least two of them that they're using in their promo that say SoCal in particular. And San Jose is not SoCal. And so, you know, I think that if your other markets that have been clamoring and have shown up for takeover tour events, because again, no takeover tour event in San Jose, right? So I do think there's something to be said, like if you're from a different market and you're salty about it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna just, sorry, didn't mean to play that again, but here you go. Like you can see some of the overlays, like these are Bay Area for sure here. But, you know, yeah, I think California, just more generally speaking, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, hey, getting to cover hockey in California during the winter months, I'm not going to say no to it. It does seem a wee bit random, but hey, who says no? Also, again, we've kind of been alluding to this, but now there are officially more teams in the US than there are in Canada. So we'll see how long that lasts, because expansion is a bullet train, not the clanky Metro North. So
listen, yeah, and there's a lot to be said for that, right? So in this 4-team expansion, 1 Canadian city, 3 American cities. The 1 Canadian city is 45 minutes from an existing team. You have all of Alberta still left to be represented at all, with Edmonton and Calgary, you know, left in the cold, literally and figuratively. And, you know, Halifax has been doing literally everything under the sun to try and get a team there, and has done tremendous work. Not happening there either. Like a team in the Maritimes that doesn't have a men's team there either. like
own the market. Yeah,
own that market, and a missed opportunity there, I think, on the Canadian side of things. So, you know, I'm not saying San Jose is bad or will fail. I think it'll do great. I just think choices were made.
Choices were made. Let's talk about the choices here with the colors. Now, I'm a Mets fan, so
I know.
You're never gonna hear me say no to orange and blue. It is a very it is a choice. Choices were made. I mean, as someone who wears orange and blue because I am a Mets fan, I get it. I don't hate it. This is giving me like sherbet vibes, and I love orange sherbet. So there you go.
Yeah, it is funny. I think I'm just naturally inclined to hate it because I hate the Mets, I hate the Knicks, and I hate the Islanders, right? And so, like, I'm just naturally inclined to have a negative reaction to this color scheme.
Fair.
Is it fine? Sure. It's just not for me, let's say.
I mean, it's okay. Let's hear what it says. So there is an announcement. We're recording just a bit before that. Today's announcement unveils PWHL San Jose's official team colors, a bright, bold palette of orange, blue, and white, inspired by the San Jose flag and reflecting the Bay Area's optimistic energy. Well, I'm sorry, as a fan of one of those teams that you hate, Rachel, nothing screams the opposite of optimism than anything related to the New York Metropolitans. We are not an optimistic team. We have terrible ownership. Okay, I'm projecting. I'm sorry, PWHL San Jose, but you made a choice here. You made a choice. Okay, back to what is actually in the press release. Orange is also a nod to the Sharks and the region's historic orange groves, while blue, evokes the beauty of California's ocean, coastline, and sky.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Like, one thing I do appreciate about the overall aesthetic of the league and all of the color choices that we've seen is that they're not primary colors, right? They're not your major color wheel colors. They have their own colorway that
That's
they're
true.
working with here. And I very much appreciate that. And I think it's a good thing because it kind of creates their own brand oeuvre, right? With these colors. But the specific colors that have been chosen and the combos, I could certainly nitpick about, but
Yeah, and
Vegas
I
most specifically, but because I think like Detroit's is going to be great. I have to see it in person, like on a t-shirt or on a jersey, just because the logo itself was kind of plain. But
yeah,
I think that's the only one. But even that red is not a true red.
yeah, I think it is very interesting to see. I will say that at points in the sizzle video, I caught myself thinking, I was like, is that a little too close to Vancouver? So like the colors that they're using, that the name and the colors that they're using, or the words that they're using to describe the colors, not the same. But I know this from playing sports in college, so I went to a school and played for a team where our colors were maroon and gold. Now, what we wore was more of a red, like a brick red, because when we were on television, we needed it to look maroon and not like deep purple or some other color. So I feel like we've talked about that before as well. I was like,
Right.
oh, I was like, is that because I remember watching the video as I was prepping for the show and being like, I thought we covered that color palette. And then I had to look in how they were describing it and take a different look at the introduction comparative to some of the colors that I saw in the video. And we've had this conversation before, specifically with Seattle. The Seattle colors for the rollout versus what they wear for practice versus, well, we actually don't know what their uniforms are going to look like when they actually say the torrent yet. Very curious. The Sirens, I think, had a little bit of an issue with that as well. So yeah, colors matter, and like the whole package really matters. But you mentioned some of the color schemes. Excuse me. I think the cacti kind of vibe here, I think we talked about it. It's more of a pea green, but we do have to go back to Vegas because we have a general manager. Now, this literally got announced after our last recording, and the only reason we got Monoreum in is because that got announced minutes, like maybe a couple of minutes before we hit record, so we were able to add it to the rundown. But let's circle back here. I know that on social media you've talked about this a little bit, and it's, since our last episode the news is a little bit old, but what are your thoughts here? A former agent now taking the helm for Las Vegas.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I think, the fact that she was a player, is really good. So she knows the game, right? From the inside. She's worked with a lot of these players that are currently in the league or about to enter the league. So she understands the current landscape. She knows what players are worth. So from the other side of the fence, in terms of contract negotiations and managing a salary cap, I think
there you go.
There's some really
advantage.
Valuable experience there.
Yeah.
You look at her other experience in terms of her work with the LA Kings and, the time that she spent, as part of growing the women's game. I mean, I think this is a really fascinating hire, and I think she has a lot of potential, and I like this for the PWHL as a league. I really think she's a really good hire.
Yeah, Dominic Didia, the official general manager, launched CAA Sports Women's Hockey Department and was co-head of that division, as you mentioned. Played for the Cal Selects and Trinity College, spent 9 years with the LA Kings as the director of marketing and content publicity, was on the board of directors for the LA Lions Girls Hockey Club. So definitely has some, now these are SoCal roots. going back to to San Jose. There are definitely some SoCal roots there, but we'll be representing Las Vegas. Also mentioned was an agent. As far as active players, Kayla Barnes, Alex Carpenter, Hannah Bilka. So basically Seattle, Sophie Jakes, Jesse Comfer, Aaron Frankel, Brienne Jenner, Haley Skamura, Claire Thompson, Natalie Splinter, Blair Turnbull, Haley Wynn. So, among others there. And then for prospects, Tessa Janicki, Chloe Primerano, Brooke Disher, and goes on and on. So I think that, again, how is that going to work within this new landscape that is being created by the PWHL? It just means that there are more opportunities, and there's some crossover here. So that's pretty dope. We like it. We like it. We like it. I think it goes back to what we said about Montreal. Who are you going to get as part of your staff? Who are you going to get to fill in the other roles to either support your vision or maybe to be champions and the aces in places where maybe you don't have as much experience? So to be determined there. But we also get some more breaking news as we are recording.
Well, this has been out for a while. Just wanted to make sure we acknowledge it because we haven't on the show. Yeah, with Hannah Brandt retiring from the PWHL, and so like the Boston Fleet will have to account for that in some way. But I just want to make sure we added it to our outline since we hadn't yet mentioned it on.
Yeah, well, Hannah Brandt, I mean, a player that's played with the national team. It's just so interesting to see what the longevity in the short term, intermediate, and long term will be for hockey players, because so many pioneers, there just was a lot that was required in addition to playing hockey to be a pro hockey player as a woman. And Hannah Brandt is definitely in that generation of players that definitely busted down the door, but not everyone's going to make it, all the way through and really see the fruits of the labor. So, well, congratulations on a great career. And like you said, yeah, this is going to have to be something that Boston figures out. But congrats on a great career, Hannah Brandt. All right, we have one little bit of news here before we kind of give you the schedule. We already kind of did our predictions in that we don't know. But what we do know is that we have a draft happening in Detroit, so in Montreal's new backyard. And we also know that we are set to get the finalists in all of the categories for the awards in the coming days, including today, Rachel, where we got the top 3 finalists for Forward of the Year.
Yeah, I love this group, honestly. I think it makes a lot of sense with Taylor Heisey, Brienne Jenner, and Kelly Panic. And, obviously Kelly Panic stands out just from a points perspective. I'm not sure who you pick here. I think it's tough because Brienne Jenner, obviously, regular season wise, kind of shouldered the burden here for Ottawa. And I think, Taylor Heisey was just pretty dominant all season long. And I think, from a complete game perspective, like Taylor Heisey is a phenomenal forward. So I think this is a really, really tough category. I think I want to see it compared to the MVP award and see what I think, because, Kelly Panic, to me, maybe she gets the forward award, but not the MVP award. But I want to see how all of this comes out in the wash.
Yeah, for me, I think Panic is my front runner for this particular award. Yeah. And I hear what you're saying because, Forward of the Year and being able to score versus being the most valuable. I talk about this all the time in all sports that I cover. Not the same. They overlap for sure. There's overlap there and not the same. But since you mentioned MVP, let's take a look at what the rollout will be. So On Wednesday, May 20th, we'll get the finalists for Defender of the Year. Then we'll get Goaltender of the Year presented by Rogers. All right, let's go with a brand
That is going to
affiliate.
be insane. Insane.
I mean,
how do you choose? You literally can't. Sorry,
yeah,
you can't.
good luck. Good luck. Friday, May 22nd, Coach of the Year. Tuesday, May 26th, Rookie of the Year. That's presented by Ally Financial. And then Wednesday, we'll have to wait until Wednesday to get the MVP award nominees. You can see here we've got some of the previous winners. Renata Faust and Hilary Knight were finalists, but Marie-Philippe Poulin wins in 24-25 MVP. Natalie Spooner, we talk about that a lot, was in the top 3 alongside MPP Marie-Philippe Poulin and Alex Carpenter. For Forward of the Year, MPP did a nice little sweep there. Knight and Fillier were
completely new category this year. Love that.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Renata Faust won Defender of the Year, was nominated alongside Sophie Jakes, Claire Thompson. Erin Ambrose won in the inaugural season. Goaltender of the Year, we talked a lot about that one last season. Erin Frankel, Gwyneth Phillips, and the eventual winner, Anne Renee Desbiens. Kristen Campbell won in the first year. Frankel was there alongside Corrine Schroeder, who kind of, I don't know. I don't know what Seattle's going to do about goaltending. I was very confusion in how they deployed their goaltending at times, specifically Schroeder. But I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. Coach of the Year finalists last year, McLeod, Troy Ryan, and Chevery. Troy Ryan won in 2024. Chevery and Courtney Kessel were there. Playoff MVP. Oh man, Gwyneth Phillips won that one after a tough loss, and Taylor Heisey won the first ever. So there you go. Just a little bit of history alongside what we can expect in the coming days as we get ready to crown a new champion, first ever Canadian champion. Will it be Montreal? Will it be Ottawa? We got to figure that one out first and then see how these awards go. But we are hoping for Black Rosie Media to have, a representation and appearance, boots on the ground for the awards and the draft. So you're going to want to stay tuned here, Rachel. But before we bid everyone farewell, for now, any last thoughts about what we can even possibly see in Game 4 between the Montreal Victoire and the Ottawa Charge?
I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of what we saw in Game 3, but just amped up an extra level. I think Montreal is going to be very eager to, dust things off and say, okay, that one game was nice, Ottawa, but we're done here, right? And so
Yeah.
will MPP, will Laura Stacey, will those kinds of players step up here and make a difference in the end, or will it be somebody else? I think anything can happen. Any player can make the difference here, but I expect another huge goaltending duel and just the intensity to ratchet up.
Yeah, for sure. I think I did predict that we'd see kind of one game that was decided by more than one goal. It could be Game 4. It could be Game 4. Now, I do want to see us go the distance, so I do want to see a Game 5. So, but I could see it, like you said, Montreal just wanting to shut things down. That would be the time. Get a multi-goal lead and keep it, or just get a multi-goal, win here. I think, though, the momentum, I do think, will shift in favor of Ottawa. And I do think that they are quite capable of getting a multi-goal win, and they'll be on home ice the last time, regardless of how this goes down, that they'll be in front of their fans. I think there's a lot of juice there. There's a lot of emotion there. And so I could see it going in their favor. And then it's a matter of, if that's what happens for Ottawa and they take the win in Game 4, is that emotional roller coaster going to be too much when they go on the road to try and defeat Montreal at home? All things on the table, right? And winner takes it all. I don't know. I do think, though, that either way, Game 4 is going to be a little more separation than what we've seen in the past. So I'm saying it's going to be a regulation win, and we're not getting overtime, and someone's going to win by 2 or more goals. That's my biggest prediction, only because I kind of said we would see that, so I got to cash in pretty soon here, Rachel. But I guess that's why we watch the games. The next game, Game 4, Wednesday, May 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if necessary, Game 5 will be Saturday, May 23rd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are planning to record again for you on Friday, whether we're getting you ready for Game 5 or celebrating another Walter Cup championship. We will be right here at Even Strength. So for Rachel Donner, Erica L Ayala, all right, hold on to your hats. Mine happens to be an orange colored. I did not plan that, but here you go. Burnt orange, just for the record. Hold on to your hats, folks. We're expecting another great game and another epic Walter Cup final series. We will catch you on the next episode of At Even Strength, presented by Black Rosie Media.